All right, everybody. Welcome back to another great episode of the Red, White, and You Show with yours truly, the military medium. Today, I have a great guest with me. When I was, searching for the next guest in the lineup, I was really blown away by what this brother duo is doing out there. And well, instead of trying to really summarize, I'll just kind of read a little bit before we bring them on. But um, Little Forces is a book series that has taken a long time to come together. It started as an idea, and basically it was a father who desperately needed to reach his children through any means possible. He wanted to let his children know he loved them. So basically, they're twin brothers that banded together to get a very personal message out. Now, I don't want to go too much into the book because otherwise it kind of ruin the interview. But I want to talk about a little bit about the about the authors. Preston and Brock Rice are twin brothers, born back in '81 in Spokane. In '84, their family moved to Vancouver, British Columbia. And basically, after high school, they both joined the Air Force. We don't hold that against them. So, and we're going to get back into the background. But today, I have with me Brock, as Preston is currently serving as they're both out of the Air Force currently. And Preston, is currently serving overseas as a civilian contractor. But I have with me today Brock. Brock, welcome to the Red, White, and You Show.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. I'm excited for you to talk about Little Forces and what that is. But if you could, share a little bit about yourself and a little bit about your background before we get into the book.
Sure. So let's start after high school. That's where it all began, right? So, become a software engineer, join the military, go do something exciting. My twin brother and I decided, let's look at the Air Force, see what they have to offer as far as the special operations community is concerned. And so we looked into pararescue. Come to find out they had another one called combat control. So we asked the recruiter, what is combat control? Recruiter said, I have no idea. I said, cool, that's what I want to do. So my brother and I both decided that that's what we wanted to do. Did some more research on it and then went to the military entry program where my brother actually failed the eye test and he was reclassified into a weather forecasting position. And then I continued through to basic training and then on to the selection that combat control has. So that was in 2000. 9/11 happened while I was getting ready to go to combat control school, which is pretty much a year into our selection program. And then after completing that, it was another year before I'd eventually be based over in Mildenhall. And I got there in January 2003, right before the invasion of Iraq. And that's kind of what launched my career as a combat controller for the next 10 years. And so eventually I went up to, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, Brock, for those listening that might not be familiar what an Air Force combat controller does, can you give like a breakdown for dummies what a combat controller does?
Absolutely. So every branch of the service has their own special operations teams, right? The Navy has SEALs, the Army has Green Berets, Rangers. Combat control is very unique in the aspect that we work on teams, except when we're deployed, most of the time we're deployed as onesies and twosies over to a Green Beret team or a SEAL team or something like that. So we act as the air-to-ground liaison who is capable of the same mission set that any other team is out there, but we also bring an added capability to call in airstrikes, also assess assault zones or drop zones and bring in supplies that way as well.
Right. And if anybody has ever been fortunate enough to have some combat controllers assigned to either their task force or maybe whatever their mission was, they always say, I don't know, that Air Force guy with the headset on, he's always with the tac set or whatever. So he's always doing his own thing. I don't know. He's with the commander. He's not back here. So he's always doing their thing. So very cool. So first off, I got to share, and I know obviously your brother's overseas, but thank you for you and your brother's service. Um, but talk about, um, you know, you guys, put in time in the Air Force,
Mhm.
regardless of the position, or MOS as we would call it in the Army. Um, talk about little forces. Now I know it has like a P, or it almost has that special operations flair about it, but it's all about the kids. Share with us about that.
Sure. So, without going too much into the personal details of how this came about, my brother moved down here with me to kind of restart, right? And we saw a picture on Facebook, and he showed it to me. It was one of my friends that had his son. I think his son was about 2 or 3 at the time, wearing his beret. And Preston came up with the idea. He said, "Hey, wouldn't it be pretty neat if we did a story based on little special operators?" It was a group of neighborhood kids who joined together and solved problems around the neighborhood. And I said, "Oh yes, yep, that would be a great idea." Not shrug, just kind of shrugged it off at first because I was single, didn't have any children at the time. But I guess, like you said, it was a message that Preston was internalizing and trying to kind of figure out how he could reach out to his children, right? So he actually came up with the initial concept. He wrote the first story and then asked for my help. And I said, "Okay, what do you need?" And he wanted to make it, he wanted to give it a little bit of that military feel, right? And that special operator feel. So I was able to actually take some of our standard operating procedures that we have in the military and break them down and bring them down to a level where children can understand. So we've injected some of the vernacular and some of the special operations techniques, like, hey, let's use this drone as one of our eyes in the sky to help us find, a stolen bike. And that's where that kind
Right.
of originated. Um, so it was pretty interesting to see the first story come together, because it actually took 2 years before the first story came
Oh,
together.
wow.
Yep.
Okay.
And so
How
by
many
oh, go
how
ahead.
many stories do you guys have now in print?
So we have 3 stories in print. We're working on number 4, which is we just finished editing, because how do you bring the vernacular in and make it an exciting story
Right.
to captivate? So we just finished editing. Preston is now working on the storyboard to
Okay.
send to our illustrator, and then after the illustrations are complete, we'll kind of go back and forth a little bit and hopefully have one out by the end of the summer.
Very cool.
Yep.
Okay. Okay, cool. I got to ask because it always comes up. It's interesting when, you have a veteran or a group of veterans, it seems like, or organization that comes together in support of veterans or families.
Hmm.
Um, there's always a common theme. And obviously this one stemming originally from your brother's initial way of saying, I kind of want my kids to kind of know what, a way to communicate to my kids, but also so, kind of what dad does, or in a sense, right?
You bet.
But sometimes there's a deeper aspect to it. Sometimes the veteran themselves or the people that are involved are also trying to express themselves and heal from something. Did you find personally, or was there anything like, because obviously you have several deployments, under your belt. Um, was there any aspect of that was a healing piece for you in doing this?
Yeah, I guess that's a funny way to bring that up. But yeah, I think ultimately, when I think about it, I think taking what I've done in the military and over in Afghanistan, Iraq,
Right.
and being able to kind of pull that back down and say, all right, so at a very rudimentary level, here's kind of the operations that take place, but then you turn it into kind of a fun story, but it's also captivating. And while you're
Right.
doing that, you're also
Right.
teaching a message, right? So we're really trying to, say, let's all come together, let's do good things. That's why we have the tag "Good Dudes, Good Deeds," right?
Right.
And that's, at the end of the day, we want to do good things in our neighborhood. We want to do good around the world. So let's kind of teach that to, or not teach it, but introduce it to younger children.
Right. Well, encouraging all that as well. Now,
Ab-
one of the cool things, and I've seen this on social media with you guys, is throughout the storyline and in social media is an undercurrent of living a healthy life or active lifestyle, right? And
Absolutely.
also how do I want to say, exercise as part of one of the core pillars of the movie. Do you or the series? Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Sure. We're inundated with technology, right? So children are, plopped down in front of the
Right.
TV, video games, etc. So especially during the recent lockdowns around the U.S., we wanted to. I looked at my wife and I said, "Hey, let's do something really cool." In special operations, we had what was called, a Hell Week. Why don't we rename it and call it Well Week and start focusing on, just activities that people can do in their homes with their kids, right? Is it a craft? Is it a movement, right? So we actually came
Right.
up with a concept and said, one craft, one movement, and that's going to get the energy out, but also introduce that um, you know a little bit of athleticism and just exercise on a regular basis, uh, to our followers. So the concept was, start off with Well Week and then start getting into, okay, let's do Movement Mondays, let's get the blood going, and just kind of break away from technology, go get your blood moving and start introducing some healthy habits.
Right. Right. No, and I think that's just was really cool when I saw that because I was like, absolutely, we are inundated with technology, not only as adults but kids, right, are spending more and more time, and really anything from schoolwork to playing and everything else. The dynamic is almost shifting, right? So in
Yeah,
our vernacular, it'd be almost like the battle space or the battlefield would be almost changing, but for kids and the rest of the populace, it's changing to the electronic aspect more so
absolutely.
and so I just thought that was really cool to see where you guys are like, hey, let's take a deliberate break, let's
Absolutely.
step away from that and reinforce that core pillar.
Yep.
um,
Yeah, let's
so
readjust and it's not to say that we don't appreciate technology. We actually love
yeah.
technology. And we down the road, we've got some ideas for how we want to introduce technology. But you have to take that break. You have to reset. Become one with Earth, as they say, right? And just let
Right. Right.
your blood move in, and then get back to it, right? But
Right.
those breaks are necessary.
Right. So I got to ask Brock, so when is the little I don't know, PBS series, or when is the television series going to come out for Little Forces? Because I mean, anytime I think of this, and if anybody's been out or after this, they need to run out to social media and check it out. But it's like, in my mind, it's like, oh my God, the I guess the energy of, or the esque of this movement is already out there, but this is in a completely different genre or niche. And I'm
Sure. Yep.
like, this would totally make, and of course, I'm not a producer, I'm not a screenwriter, but I'm like, it would totally make a great kids little Saturday, whether it was one series or whatever it was.
Absolutely. It's funny you mentioned that. We actually looked into pitching it over with some of our friends that work in LA, and we're really trying to build up the followership right
Hmm.
now.
Yep.
We're talking about investing some money to do our first book, which was Little Forces and the Stolen Bike. Turn that into a cartoon, and then
Oh.
post that on the YouTube page, and just introduce it to people very slowly,
Mhm.
and eventually write some more books, and then kind of follow suit with volume 2, volume 3, just creating some more cartoons out there.
Sure.
It
Yeah.
would be a great Saturday morning cartoon. It is very high energy, but you're right. The niche market that we've actually targeted military families and veterans and said, hey,
Okay.
here's something that we can all relate to, right?
Right.
And us growing up, we had something like GI Joe or something, right? And
Right.
we watched that. So this is a different version of that completely. And not to throw them out there,
Right.
but
Right.
it's a
Right.
completely different
Right.
aspect of what we're trying to achieve. And ultimately, we just want to kind of introduce to the children, hey, here's what daddy does at work, and here's kind of some of the ways he does it.
Well, I think it's interesting, like the storyline, the basis of it, where, just like the military or anywhere, whether you use it for kindergarten or anything, but you're presented with a problem,
Mm-hmm.
and where a group of people, regardless of the age, get together and they go through the cognitive process of figuring out the steps of how to solve it, right? And
Exactly.
and you were talking about even using in one series about um like using a drone or whatever, and of course, it's got the little military-esque with it, but the military flavor a little bit, but at the same time it's still going through the cognitive steps of, I don't know. I almost want to say, because my daughter was huge into Dora, everybody stop and think. It's like,
Yep.
trying to get kids into what we would call the muscle memory. And so
Exactly.
you repeat a basic step over hundreds of thousands of times so you can do it in your sleep, right? And
Exactly.
that's how you build upon.
Yeah, no, it makes perfect sense. And yeah, so you'll see in some of the books, I'm sure understand what a sand table is. So
Yep.
the mission planning process, everybody gather around, let's build a model of what's happening. And now what are our solutions? What do we have available to us right now that can help us accomplish this mission? What does that sand table look like? And let's, assign people to tasks. Now
Right.
everybody on the, in the real world and in the books, everybody on the teams now know what their assigned duties are, and they can go out there and execute them as
Right.
flawlessly as possible.
Well,
So,
who can't relate to that? I think there's a lot of industries and adults that could really, you know, use that as well. Like you think from the boardroom to the playground, right? And
oh,
from
absolutely.
all and saying, because how many times and I'm sure yourself included, have worked in civilian jobs either before and or after military service,
Mhm.
that a lot of times be like, boy, I sure wish I knew what the heck I'm supposed to be doing. And, and then it's like, you're almost walking blind, so to speak. And when you knew what your assigned task was, there would be no questions saying, no, we
Exactly.
rehearsed it. I know it. I saw it. Whatever the case is, right?
It's the process, right? So what is
Right.
that process? And so with the little forces, we took the entire process and we broke it down.
Nice.
One of the key things I think you'll notice in some of the books, and we're trying to keep it very consistent, one bad decision leads to, it's a snowball effect. So
Mm,
we're trying to captivate the children's minds by, oh, wow, this is getting really, really bad. Okay, the mission plan worked, it solved the problem and brought everything back and everything's right again, right?
right.
But that, so we're trying to figure out how to keep that process, uh, keep that flow going, but also, keep it very consistent.
Right, right. Very cool. Very cool. Well, one of the things I was going to ask Brock is, we all going through whatever process or whatever industry we may work in or do, we have different influencers, whether they're, for some of us, whether they're in the military or not. But I was going to ask for you, who is somebody like doing this work and maybe others, who is somebody that's motivated you and inspired, or shouldn't say motivated, but has inspired you?
In the book writing industry or the military
Well, I
aspect?
guess if you want to separate them, you can do one and then the other
Sure.
if
Yeah.
they're separate. Yeah.
Yeah, so I've got there's quite a few people that inspired me while I was in the military. One of my commanders' name was Kurt Bowler. Very inspiring. Very dedicated to the job and the people that were a part of his unit. Right.
Mhm.
He was always there for him. So I always looked up to him as a commander and someone that I knew always had my back. Um, and then if we switch gears a little bit and go into the book industry, it's funny. I always I grew up reading the Hardy Boys and Encyclopedia Brown. So I think the authors of those books definitely inspired me because they're out there solving problems in a
Mhm.
different way.
Mhm.
A little bit older of a crowd than our target, but
Sure.
same kind of concept. They're out there. They want to do good. They want to solve problems, and
Right.
and I think that's the inspiration for the little forces on from my part. For Preston, it was, hey, let's group these guys together and let's promote, doing the right thing. Let's promote doing some good. But you'd have to ask him specifically as to some of the people that inspired him.
Sure. We don't want to put words in
And
anybody's mouth saying,
here's my twin, so I can pretty much speak for him most of the time.
right. No, that's good. So, going forward with Little Forces, what are some things that are coming up for you guys? Some things that you can talk about that you got in the hopper, that maybe the new fans, the fans that might be listening to this, whatever, some things that they can look forward to.
Sure. Excuse me. So we just did a book giveaway on the 4th of July. We gave away 2 sets.
Nice.
And we'd like to give more away throughout the summer. So in August, what we like to do is, I'm going to start adding apparel to the store, and from the purchase of a T-shirt, what we're going to do is do a skateboard giveaway. And the concept is maybe once a quarter, right? And then move into some drones down the road, and then introduce some STEM, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics into the website, where kids can get on there, just log in and then learn through a small course that is broken down for, let's say a 5 to 9-year-old to really understand. So that's some things we've got on the plate that may be introduced towards the end of this year or early next year. But really starting to get the apparel out there, get book number 4 out, and then we're pretty ambitious in trying to get trying to finish a Christmas story as well. So we try to get a Christmas story out this year too. So there'll be 5 total in the set by the end of the year, with maybe a cartoon in the making.
Oh, very cool. Very cool. So we could have something possibly, hopefully come out maybe in 2021 sometime.
Yep, absolutely.
With fingers crossed, so to
Fingers
speak.
crossed, yep. We just got to find the right cartoonist,
Right. So maybe if there is somebody out there listening right now, somebody watching this, here we are on the Monday after 4th of July, right? This episode, which is interesting because obviously our episodes air every Friday. Your episode is actually going to be airing when people watch this again. It'll be the middle of January. Keep on looking at my calendar.
Oh, wow.
So here we will be, in the new year, and in 2021. But the thing is that hopefully the Christmas episode is out, and all the other ones, so they can go back and for birthday gifts or just a gift or whatever, so maybe something for their own child, so which I think is really interesting. But more importantly, what I wanted to address is, if there is a cartoonist, if there is a somebody in the industry that is like, oh my God, this is what I've been looking for. This is something that we've been, kind of up that alley, something different. How do they get a hold of you guys? How do they get a hold of you guys if they want to find out more about the organization or just chat with you more?
Sure. So all I have to do is go over to littleforces.com, www.littleforces.com, or they can email us at info@littleforces.com. And that email actually goes directly to myself and my brother. And so if I don't catch it, he'll catch it. So we're always tracking. So info@littleforces.com and littleforces.com.
Nice. And as far as social media, I know it's Facebook. Are you on Instagram?
We are, yep. So we have Instagram and Facebook. I'd have to pull up. I believe it's just the Little Forces.
Yep. You just Google. I know you just throw in the search of Little Forces, especially on Facebook, and it'll pull right up and look for their little logo. As far as the I think it's just a V with a little beret and a knife. Is that correct?
It's actually, yep. It should be this logo right here that's on my shirt.
There you go. There you
are. With the green feet and a parachute. And
green feet. Sorry. So it's kind of hard to see on my printout. Sorry. But awesome. Anything else, Brock, that we're missing?
Sure. Yeah, just wanted to, kind of introduce the characters a little bit too.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
Porter obviously is the main character. He's the commander, right? If you will. He's actually named after Preston's son, um,
Okay.
one of his sons. And then we've introduced my oldest son in book number 2, Braxton. So he's actually, they've given them the name the baby seals, right? So, a little play on words there. But every character that we have in our story is based off of one of our friends that we've served with,
Okay.
of one of their children. So,
Okay.
and little Andy in the book is actually based off of a friend of ours that I served with. He was a combat controller. He actually he died in Afghanistan in 2011
Hmm.
when the helicopter was shot down. Right.
Okay.
So little Andy is a tribute to Big Andy. So Andy
And
Harvell went by the name Big Andy. So little Andy is a tribute to him, and kind of something that a way for us to memorialize him.
right, right. And that was that also in the operation with the lone survivor? Is that the
Oh
same?
no, different operation.
Okay. All right. But probably same mountain range or similar. So
Similar, very
yeah,
similar.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So I get it. We could probably chat all day long on that area because I also served in
Absolutely.
that
Yep.
area. So yeah. So and a beautiful tribute as well, bringing in past comrades that you've served with in a way of memorializing them in the book. I think that's a cool thing as well. So keeping their memory
Yeah,
alive.
absolutely.
Yeah. And, and also something that if they're, I don't know if he had, if Andy had family or kids, but also a way to go, hey, there's, this character is always based on dad and in a
Sure.
sense. So yeah,
And
that's a,
and we did put the names of his sons in our books as well.
oh,
So
very cool. Okay. All right. Cool. Very neat. All right. Well, anything else that we might be missing that, it's interesting to me because when we were when the show was on the radio, um, we did a children's book prior. Not, we didn't produce it, but we interviewed one. And it fascinated me because I was like, I didn't really realize all the facets to getting a story out there and just all the work that goes into it. And then everything else, the nuances of the why, I call it, the why the book is being produced and or published, and like what is the driving factor, and really what is the message behind it. And I find that really fascinating.
oh,
But
absolutely. It's funny because Preston actually did about 18 months of research. How do I write children's books? What's the word count? What does the reading level need to be? And he did a lot of that and helped. He actually kind of helped when I said, hey, let's take some of this standard operating procedures and break
right,
them down. He was really able to help kind of inject some of that into the books as well, which helps because it's we're both working in unison and just bringing our two different pieces
sure.
together to.
Nice, nice. Well, perfect. Well, thank you so much, Brock. I really appreciate you taking time today out of your busy schedule and chatting with us. It's been a pleasure, and it's been really awesome learning about Little Forces. And of course, when Preston connects with you again, send him our well wishes, and we certainly hope he's doing well and staying safe. But
Excellent.
we really look forward to keeping tabs on what you guys are doing. And like I said, if you guys haven't checked out Little Forces, head on over to social media, check them out, or obviously jump on over to their website. And what's that website again?
That's www.littleforces.com.
So you heard at littleforces.com, and we'll make sure we have the website up here. And, if you feel guided, check out what they currently have, as far as merch and their books and everything else. They're making a difference for the youngins out there. So it's really awesome to see that. And they got a really cool message with it. So I just thought it was really cool. And I wanted to bring it to everybody that felt kind to watch this episode. So, Brock, once again, thank you for your service. Thank you for what you and your brother are doing. You're certainly changing lives, whether you realize that or not. I know you see what, your kids and maybe friends around you, but it's really cool to see that. It's like, wow, they're making waves over in a good way, in doing what they do. So thank you so much for being a guest today.
All right. Well, thanks for having us or having me. I really appreciate it. We appreciate it at Little Forces. And yeah, I look forward to connecting again soon.
You bet. All right.